So um, I have a thing that I need to do. I'm doing. Yesterday, so I've been making, I guess, called Rap Battles with Library Voices. Seems like a fine title. It's a mixture, a blend of different buckets of culture that the language model has. It just doesn't get, it just doesn't get expressed by the capitalism community, or no, I mean, no, there's overlaps in the music industry, but the you know, not much rag being used to try to find sentiments within hip hop culture that I know of, and so it's a good place to test things out, to test Englishes that aren't expressed as much in the whitey white space of machine learning and language models and AI. Even though, even though this technology has consumed every type of English across the board. There's no garbage in, garbage out. No, there's no. Well, first of all, archaeology is the garbage out that we process and pour over because it's our only window to the ancient world sometimes. So it's not garbage now; it's priceless garbage in the museum. So any scrap of culture can yield fuck tons of information about humanity. So this whole notion of garbage, that the fact that there's garbage data, that's a very white notion to me. It's ulterior, paving the way to curate the shit out of the data sets, which shouldn't happen. I don't believe that should happen. I think I think it needs to be total. I think it needs to have all of our embarrassing, anything that we consider embarrassing, all our distorted thoughts. There, how would the language model understand our distorted thoughts if it didn't come from the fucking tap? So I'm just rambling because maybe it's because there's no music. So, but that's because been using new music for these rap battles with library voices. Um, you know, it, part of me wonders if this is going to just feel cringe. It's not going to age well. But the certain style of beat, the percussiveness of it is necessary for the expressing an aggression. Um, and also I need variety because I've been playing the shit out of all the other stuff. After 1,500 episodes, it kind of tends to wear a little thin. Uh, so yeah, that's it. And I'm really, it's just this is my favorite one of the series so far, and I just wanted to frame that a little bit. Okay, we're done. Let's just see what happens. And then we'll turn it on. Yeah, see, that's just, I can't intro to that.
Rap battles with library voices. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt versus Mr. Bad Faith. Begin. Mr. Bad Faith. My opponent calls himself Mr. Benefit of the Doubt because of his arrogant assumption that he is bestowing his munificent grace upon poor supplicants who need his pardon, when in reality his pseudo-humility is just pride in disguise. He actually wears a clever mask so he can secretly, maliciously accuse the other of wrong, all the while using plausible deniability to pretend that he has assumed the best rather than the worst. In his head he laughs at his enemy, that rube, that pleb, that naif. He doesn't even know I'm insulting him, excoriating him, accusing him, while using Jedi mind tricks to sound beneficent. If he only knew. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt. That's a sharp rap, bruv. But you talk like that because you assume I think the way you do. That everyone is an enemy out to get me. That I must therefore be prepared to defend myself at all times. And when the opportunity presents itself, go for the jugular of my opponent. But your accusations say more about your paranoia, distrust, and maliciousness than about me. For, you see, you have proved my point that I take the path of honor and nobility. To offer the benefit of the doubt is the opposite of paranoia. It is trust, though not blind trust. It is the ability to empathize with someone else's situation. It's actually a divine gift, modeled for us by Christ himself. Indeed, I am the good guy and you the bad. People love me. People loathe you. My neighbor loves me. His wife loves me. His kids love me. His dog loves me. Because I never assume they are out to get me. I never sit down with my neighbor and think he is going to lace my coffee with arsenic. I never look at his wife and assume she is about to berate me for being an idiot. I never greet his kids assuming they have come to pick my pocket. I never look at his dog and assume he is ready to bite me. And you know what? None of that has ever happened to me because I have trusted them, given them the benefit of the doubt, treated them as I would want to be treated, never jumped to negative conclusions or sown seeds of enmity with them. This has led to good relationships all around. Mr. Bad Faith, my opponent is incredibly naive, just as I have charged. How can he live in such a fog of unreality? Doesn't he know what happens every day, everywhere, on the internet, at work, in the news, on social media? People disagreeing with each other, accusing each other, attacking each other, lying about each other. If you turn the other cheek to these folks, they'll just hit you again on that one. Where has he been? No man is an island, unless he lives on a desert island, and that's where Mr. Benefit of the Doubt apparently lives, in a state of delusion. There is no civil discourse, no polite dialogue, no fair disagreements anymore, and if you don't recognize this, you'll soon find yourself sinking in the ocean of real-world disagreements. All around you, other ships will fire at each other, and you, out of fear of misunderstanding, will let everyone shoot at you without firing back, and soon you will sink to the bottom of the ocean, a deserving casualty of your own fatal Pollyannism. You won't even recognize that your view is no different than a conspiracy theory. You think people are better than they are, so you trust them more than you should, leading you to conclude that if you get cheated, accused, mocked, and swindled, it's not because people are malicious, but because you didn't trust them enough or because you're a bad person who deserved it. You're a masochist who brings out the worst in others because you trust them too much and therefore let them get away with abusing you. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt! What a way to think about the world. I recognize that not everyone is trustworthy, but I also know that many are. Some people I can trust implicitly, without doubt or question. I love being around them as they love being around me, because we don't sit around expecting the other to cheat or defraud or abuse us. Rather, we live in a world of harmony and charity. Sometimes we even confide in each other our hurts and disappointments, because we know the other won't gossip or betray our trust. That's a beautiful place to live, and I feel sorry for you and those like you, because you never get to experience it. No, not everyone is trustworthy, and I recognize that. Some are malicious, and I can learn to tell the difference. In any case, I can assume the best until I have reason to assume the worst. In doing this, I encourage and facilitate the best in others, as I give them opportunities to prove themselves trustworthy. I don't just treat everyone with suspicion and mistrust until they prove they can be trusted. That's no way to live. What's worse, it's a sure way to corrupt others and to bring out their bad side. For when you show people that you distrust them, when you assume they are malicious, when you jump to conclusions about them, when you show them that they can't earn your trust or prove you wrong, you feed into a downward spiral of incivility, disharmony, enmity, and abuse. Mr. Bad Faith, my opponent is naive, and I can prove it by means of a simple thought experiment. What happens if someone accuses you of wrong, and you respond by taking it at face value? You say, "Oh, did I offend you? I didn't realize it. I didn't mean it. Here, let me make amends and change my ways, for your approval is very important to me." To respond in this way is stupid, because now you have made yourself vulnerable to your accuser. You have given him power over you, making yourself his slave. And instead of making you safe, this approach actually makes you more vulnerable to future attacks, for now he knows he can control you by accusations. It's so simple that you should have learned this in kindergarten. Don't play with bullies. Don't negotiate with terrorists. Don't give aid and comfort to the enemy. Never let them see you bleed. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt, you think like a coward. If you would just stand up to the bully, as I've advocated, you'll find he backs down. His facade of strength is just a cover for insecurity and fear. In your thought experiment, my accuser is given the opportunity to see my approach in action. He now knows that if he brings a false accusation, I will make sure to find out, for I am not stupid. When I do find out, you will feel the heat of my righteous indignation. In the meantime, he has learned that I am open to correction, which is a mark of maturity, and that I value his friendship more than a shallow ego. Now he has incentive to speak truthfully to me and not play games. The more this happens, the more we can learn to trust each other, and the more we are able to have productive disagreements without damaging our friendship. This leads to improved relations all around, for in cultivating peace, I help others cultivate it as well, spreading it far and wide. When you deal with people as if they're terrorists, as you do, you'll bring out the worst in them. When you treat others with generosity and goodwill, they tend to respond in kind. Mr. Bad Faith, I prefer to live in the real world. In the real world, people sometimes lie, cheat, accuse falsely, betray trust, and even commit murder. I just don't understand how you can be so blind. Don't you watch the news? Don't you know how to use a search engine? Type in the name of your favorite celebrity, and you will soon find out how depraved, deceitful, violent, abusive, or generally evil he is. Better yet, don't type in a name. Instead, type in your favorite kind of evil, and you will find all sorts of stories about all kinds of people doing the evil.
Right?
Evil is everywhere. There is no hiding from it, so deal with it, either by learning to see through it or by being deceived by it. The choice is yours. Me, I prefer to call it as I see it, which is to assume bad faith until good faith is demonstrated. 33 arguments against apologies and analyses with rebuttals. Therefrom, 33 argumenta adversus apologies and analyses, comparum computations. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt, I agree that evil exists, but I see it as something to be overcome, and you see it as something to be embraced. Your solution is to fight fire with fire, but that makes no sense. Firefighters never fight fire with fire. They fight fire with water. If the whole world is filled with fire, as you say it is, then your attempt to fight it with fire is doomed to fail, because it just adds to the fire. Me, I have an antidote to the poison of evil. It's called trust. In the real world, I've found it makes all the difference, for I know my limits and I recognize that I don't have all the answers. I don't understand everything, and I have much to learn from others, who can teach me much if I give them the opportunity. The first step to learning is to trust that your teacher isn't lying to you or deliberately misleading you. It is to trust that what they say may actually be true and to give them the opportunity to prove it until they demonstrate otherwise. You can learn from people you distrust. You can only use them as straw men and whipping boys. Mr. Bad Faith, that's just ridiculous, for I have learned much from enemies. From them I have learned all sorts of things. I have learned the true meaning of texts that have been disputed. I have learned many of the foibles, follies, and prejudices of people who have attacked them. I have learned what moves people to accuse others of bad motives. Sure, I've also learned a lot from friends, but I have learned more from enemies. They have much to teach me, but the lessons are not always easy, so I must pay attention to learn them. As Michael Corleone said, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. For enemies can teach you much if you will only pay attention. I do pay attention, and I have learned a great deal. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt, but your enemy isn't trying to teach you those things. He is not acting as a teacher, but as a scoundrel. Whatever you may learn from him is in spite of his malice, not because of his goodwill. In order to learn from him, you must transform his malice into goodwill. The only way to do this is by assuming good faith until bad faith is proven. It is then and only then that you will be able to see the truth of the matter without the distraction of paranoia. It is then and only then that you will be able to see the lie as well as the truth without becoming a dupe. And it is then and only then that you will be able to turn the lie to your advantage, not because it's a lie, but because it can lead you to the truth. It's a simple matter of reframing what is presented to you in the context of trust. For example, if you can trust that a liar isn't lying, but is presenting the truth in a certain light, then you can learn much from him. You can learn about his motives, his prejudices, and his presuppositions. These can teach you a lot about him and about the subject in question, as well as about how to evaluate the evidence. Mr. Bad Faith, what do you mean I'm transforming his malice into goodwill? How's one do that? If he is attacking me, why shouldn't I defend myself? If he is accusing me falsely, why shouldn't I expose his lie? If he is unfairly targeting me, why shouldn't I expose his duplicity? This is the way the world works. You can't escape it, so you might as well learn to deal with it. I do, and I survive. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt. No, you just pretend to survive. The truth is that you are barely making it. You are scarred, you are hurt, and you are wrecked. You are constantly fighting fires that aren't even there. You assume that people are out to get you, so you are always on the lookout. You are so afraid of being hurt that you hurt others first, before they can hurt you. But this just makes them more likely to hurt you, for now they know that you are not to be trusted, and they will respond in kind. And so the cycle continues. In order to break this cycle, you must give people a chance to prove themselves. You must give them the benefit of the doubt, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You must trust them before they trust you. And you must be willing to let them hurt you, for this is the only way they can learn that they are not your enemy. This is how enemies become friends, by taking the time to get to know each other and to see each other's good side. Mr. Bad Faith, but I know what people are like. They are out to get me. They are jealous of me. They want what I have. They don't like me because I'm better than they are. They're trying to tear me down. They're trying to ruin me. I'm just defending myself. I'm just fighting fire with fire. That's the only way to survive in this world. Mr. Benefit of the Doubt, but you are wrong about them. They are not out to get you. They are not jealous of you. They do not want what you have. They do not dislike you because you are better than they are. They are not trying to tear you down. They are not trying to ruin you. They are just trying to survive in this world, just like you. And they are trying to do it the best way they know how, which is by being civil, by being courteous, by being respectful. They are trying to do it by getting along, by cooperating, by working together. They're trying to do it by being good neighbors, by being good friends, by being good people. And you are destroying all of that by your paranoia, by your distrust, by your hostility. You are making enemies out of people who would otherwise be your friends. You are making a hostile world out of a world that would otherwise be hospitable. You are making a nightmare out of a world that would otherwise be a dream. Mr. Bad Faith, you don't know what it's like to be attacked, to be accused falsely, to be unfairly targeted. You don't know what it's like to have enemies. You don't know what it's like to have to defend yourself, to fight back, to stand up for yourself. You don't know what it's like to have to watch your back, to be on there. Mr. Hall of Mirrors, the debate moderator, thank you for this glimpse into your worlds, which are the two sides of human nature. The world is not all good or all bad. It is both. It is both full of enemies and full of friends. Both full of people who want to help you and full of people who want to hurt you. It is both full of people who are good and full of people who are bad. And it is both full of people who are in between, who are a mixture of both. So, The question is not whether to trust or to distrust. The question is whether to trust or to distrust the right people. That is the question that you must answer for yourselves. And the only way to answer it is by getting to know people, by taking the time to get to know them, by seeing both their good side and their bad side, by seeing both their strengths and their weaknesses, by seeing both their virtues and their vices. And the only way to do that is by assuming good faith until bad faith is proven. That is the only way to see people as they really are, not as you want them to be or as you think they should be, but as they really are. That is the only way to have real relationships, not pretend relationships, not relationships based on lies, not relationships based on deceit, not relationships based on manipulation, not relationships based on intimidation, not relationships based on control, but real relationships based on trust, based on respect, based on Mr. Discernment on a budget. None of you all have time for that or the capacity. So here is a simple best practice framework for sussing out bad faith without expending big wedges of one's life in doing so. Expect lies to be mixed in with truth and be a mid-level factotum reburden of proof, raising that bar of charitable giving to the other. Base it upon each such person in relation to her particular behaviors toward oneself, and if made needful, categorize based upon common patterns as a guide for prediction as much as possible. There is in reality no impartial moderator within earshot of these whispering factions of bitter lawyers, parties, witnesses, and casual political co-worker co-viewers, no real consensus rule keeper who can see and evaluate the totality of verbal actions and written actions by all regarding any given minute dispute going on. Your goodwill framework's designs are bad. It suffices for X to say no claims may demand there be evidence before listening on a claim is itself prima facie untrue because most humans are liars. Then read dishonest parts within all who wish to stay and keep on talking. Though verifiable liars, they prove self. Except in simplest terms, past point forward still dignified them, demanding continued honors to them now or future non-interaction is something which within one party's speeches / writing gets labeled like 74. They disagree to put up posts not till they merely concede the truth, instead being till the yes, no, that is wrong, plus now not gonna use it anymore, so is it worth words, because why say all false words are waste? Overcomplication for whom who say it / I proof this is more better, not more worse / making judgments as each community can rather by consensus adoption of matching culture, not homogeneousness, just by liking same basic ideas mainly unless something else counts mostly better instead or because seeing benefits via people's added notice in totally diverse more before. Figure 1. Positive half-yield P. O. Why base alternating trellis peti grid representation of the 2-5 list at the intersection where set terms merge without contradiction? Positive half-yield POE Boolean reduction map from binary string lookup. Figure 2. Breakaway loop resource merging indicator view with contrast / element parameter pairing interdependence. Values over contiguity. Channel type may represent string or self-source reg of scheduler or dominant character loss. Word atomic comparator via swiveling definitions only pure benefit. Footnote 1. Hash partial truths hash makes / hash categories hash characters for hash mapping function of the template from hash byte arrays prepositionary hash fortress style array hash poem structure but not real relationship. Mr. in English, please. Sir, could you repeat what you said in plainer terms and without employing diagrams? Perhaps with key verbs more active. I've tried 5 dictionaries and only find gibberish by way of legible content and metaphors well nested into incoherent gobbledygookish concept terms. Well means highly hard to know what significant where and elsewhere being translated words such naturally standard lexical entry really like grunts onomatopoeic repetitive moronically mundanely or machines but fabrications on truth by a virtuoso weak sauce from no big year but excluding poets rendered im something morbid snap reverses they're now potently thrown about necessarily I indeed defy adequate explanation challenging however. Good product for civilized souls alone beforehand. Food loved sucker to global encyclopedia series accessible free therefore way invaluable databases accepted academia presently impossible through curvilinear brackets pretty mythic mumbling devil complete fool very lucrative expect bump whatsoever if regardless consistently counterproductive weak product notwithstanding fortunately existing debates without proceeding rationale get upset how really mocking support taxonomical proceeding me reply curse bless damn well ergo arrived male singular copious prose apparent preface continued I go on to 6 therefrom 33 argument adversus apologies et analyses Camarum confutatio L2 L3s the second and third lists are merged in figure 1, but in the next figures I will show you what happens when I remove the overlapping assets from the first list and merge them with the second and third lists, respectively, creating a breakaway loop. This allows me to focus on a different part of the system and get a better view of its functioning, its contiguity or channel types. As you can see, there is a lot of overlap between the second and third lists. Mr. Fighting 6%, can we acknowledge the mutual catastrophizing and spiritual bypassing down of what that means, but I trust the one who gave me this 3x5 card telling me to use the term at this moment and pursue the meat of veracity. That the frequency of people who find a cubic ton of fuckery is easier to carry than their honest appraisal of capacities number 6% of the population. Not a lot of dick, even less snow, but enough dissonance and power grabbing to threaten our species. 51-49 within their parties. They define our entire spectrum. Screw anybody who looks off the road unless we're terrified. Will you have babies? Will you kill without cousin? Plowing through corpses together, you'll learn how your voice being ignored is same as others, taken more power, taken pugnaciously hitherforth. 6 and 100 occupy 90% gap overlap, 75%, 24% fatal ratio facing adults, otherwise targeted at young decision made complicit beings rage legions behind like never descends. Until extinction apparently stops before destroying all essence possible regenerates loss vanishes. Shame, forgotten, lie, generated, suffering, inflicted, healing, prevented, drained, dried, abandoned, motherless, both nurtured, denied, oblivion, removed worlds. Reborn, likewise, either alternately, akin, salvaged, reversed, doubled, imposed, 66, increased, diminished, grudging, fulfilled, completed, flattered, liked, embraced, engulfed, stolen, discarded, crushed, lives lives unlived a lot times ago, gone wrong, right, turned left. Averted to divided till final part near finish next start continues contrives retreats assimilates empowers conquers builds fells deforests pollutes corporates trivializes glorifies forgets remembers reverses redeemed and dies remembers fades continues translates manifests believe just never-ending story spiral onward travails journey crusades endures survives makes it mark believes becomes ultimately either art shadow fable idea ideal idol icon incarnation human life light source figure kin Chee! Golden child prince archangel hope glimmer gods angels divine celestial messengers spiritual higher beings entities forgotten lose memory forget self remember self dismembered leaves memory reclaims rememories retraces retracts recovers repeats, remembers, retimes, relives, regathers, retains, remembers, retraces, recaptures, retells, review revolves, retrieves, retains, regrieves, regain rejoices, remains sick, shaken is shaken awake, never falls silent, never end. Mr. Hall of Mirrors, why, that is excellent news. Did you hear that you two? You are both fucking right and fucking wrong. Compromises can't get more compromisally than that. Two pop crazy tastic views merged together into a big pooky wonderland hypey bipey on and digem just shiver me more rigor me poppy lolly plenty toddle maple saddle with apple pear grape fig and pie tart yippee kire epicree tree with the fruitage floaties weft winning gust sport leaf floriaceous blossom jingles the lit will burst with sweet wet perfume. While I've had experience dealing with theological people by looking for hidden meanings, all part of my mission and assignment in life. They ain't got nothing in their nose, so why shouldn't not? What I think doesn't only mean about somebody's wrong, no, doesn't need no further clarification, no, I've had done for long, no, us without get anything negative back, so that's about us, whether we accept or not. But I can't think when we must now, that they're done a look at two men talking none. None's not gonna speak, Sim can only help him up that snaffum. Anyways, or you can one ask other ways forward beyond debate, which we're doing, aren't really asking now, at least anyhow, because yes, no, good, bad, but one don't want to have give others too many hard choices where you need a clear path unhindered by ideas can harm, make worse, could break things hurty. D. Self and kin, what then might hurt us later, not fix us this bad problem, that worsening danger if true. Mr. Takeaway. So if I heard you all right, there are people who fuck over people royally, that it is not paranoia, but for some people, reasonable suspicion. That most people don't have to worry about such people, but at the same time, everyone does in a certain way. That both sides are right, and valid in their assumptions, and right in their appraisal of the other side. 6% is an exponential and controlling and destructive force when left unchecked, and 51-49% constructs that neither acknowledge nor course correct such pitfalls. But love is infinitely more powerful still, and multiplying anything by infinity makes a reality of insignificance out of it. People are, no matter what, people who take care of themselves primarily and rely on self-preservation as their first instinct. Accusing others of base motives makes it easy for one to use an antichrist mentality to absolve one of one's own reckoning with the log in one's own eye. That evil always will win a limited short game, but by virtue of being connected to one's true self and becoming free from malice within one's own heart through any of numerous practices can orient the soul toward the continuity and steadiness of non-stupidity, where one need not react to base instincts, but rather can trust inner quietness and restore faith to those who both deserve it and to those who at one's wits end still are either ill-equipped to see through lenses clearer than immediate survival, or by miracle than gift by divine grace. The inflection point of toxicity present at 6% is met with at least one parable, showing how a tiny seed of goodness is infinite in growth, unless consumed with rodents and predators of the mind. Mr. Indigenous. Hi, a bit late to the debate, but you can indeed fight fire with fire. As a preventative, I mean, indigenous peoples have used fire as a tool for thousands of years to manage the land and reduce the risk of wildfires, setting small, controlled fires to achieve specific goals. And these days we've seen where not fighting fire with fire gets us with the dryness, and the fire not those with the goodness gracious, great funnels of it, yeah, flavin. Mr. One more thing. Mr. Benefit of the doubt. A couple weird points, like if some people are not given trust, then they are liable to enact types of harm that likely wouldn't be on top of the minds of people with mostly good in them, and encouraging the vulnerability that opens the very system exploited by the types of people Mr. Bad Faith has valid reasons to be wary of. It will attest to a notion that, and I'm pushing back gently here, that maybe benefits of the doubt are not entitlements, but rather earned. Just saying. Also, that he really gets into this response loop like 5 layers deep. It is impressive in a bird mating chirp sort of way, almost a Sally. If anything, the lack of pain jerk for some good people doing goodness, really good with actual good out there, really just for the good of it, within contextual murals of societal arrays, not so much the excess of majority, but really certainly punching it for above 50% in terms of morality. Mr. BFBD presents as something of a slight cynic masker. Dang is a non-cynic. He could improve his core products across the board some. Don't hate the cinder on this. Just spitballing on some maybe development opportunities going forward. Also, where Mr. Hall of Mirrors reconnected things into a golden sun / rendezvous of broken heart rapids, flood canal, full creation myth, nothing said or done can manifest or grow unless both of you do as you say you would do it in fact. When put on the spot and tested as to the true beliefs held at the basis, leave. L, where you would fight fire with bigger fire if your core self and true tribe, not your gang clan. A distinction, though not without merit. But I mean the small peeps to whom you bequeath every memory of your life as something they have to both contend with, but something that in their divine mind, wherein they are God and the computer, everything is real, innocence and memory. Even what isn't a quote-unquote real feeling becomes, in their total recall and expansive enlightenment, memories still to them, and anyone who would assail a single angel hair or the couch they fall down backwards onto after falling while dancing barefoot through their dream within a dream state. Even if the false start to loving the day comes into something that yet still wasn't a genuine happiness before the fall, for they know, he knows, I mean your grandkid, either gender, maybe no gendered, all things pluralized, maybe no, but the higher self of them, which holds awareness of anything created, which anything NG includes miscreations and misspellings, and when you die, you are giving them the language of falling, and what has to happen, something your future progeny indeed has the brain space and brain powder and brain intel and brain expansiveness and brain time crystals timey-wimey to do. Therefore, even the fake happiness of an innocent younger life fall being the end of at last one still being the innocent happiness before being tested and robbed and dealt some stupid story of pain and the arc of Sue. Efferring leading to anger, leading to blind rage, leading to malicious vengeance, trying to quit the strength of revenge, get on methadone of fighting to make things at least like all right, and come to find that maybe nothing makes sense unless and until you surrender that you don't need to hit the person who dealt the first blow even after they seem to celebrate the decline of your will to persist, and yet they indeed have every right to not trust you. If the pain is what they do, then they will die. Oh, it in that pain, because most people live in pain and they learn to sit and hold the pain and rock the pain and learn to bear that pain within their core, and they do nothing with this ball of scabies, and their will to survive makes them do what they've learned how to survive. Go back, not to the first blow. Go to the one who hit you, who had the in-between pain in them that was trapped within their now understanding that you might not hurt them, and the impulse to try not to hurt is false until they release it. Otherwise, they have no defense mechanism. See how each process that up because you will take your life or define your time without ever being around 80 or 100 or any age. For you will be leaving this land of brain sink fail and expanded coping mechanisms and leaving the sade reign of entropy and hypocrisy and pain for the off-brand heavyweight monk moods of your short dumb kid who will bless the thing in which your bones are stuffed and left so that the kid will at loss DC something fun. That is when you get older, which you don't because within this thread, I am born within my own special pipe dream that is written while I'm walking around looking for at least hope that it isn't quite as bad as it has been and maybe things do get better and I have to just push through another day. Some more pain, some more joy, not avoiding the thought of getting past the blast to that future time where entropy wins and you are finally free to be from both, but to leave bay in each thing you made in this world that wasn't robbed from you. For that inheritance you leave to some shithead named Jim or Twinkle, your grand brat you never met because their dad or mom died before you did. Such were their faults. Sorry. Got lost up in some pageantry of things I want and in which I don't believe. Pardon if you want to edit anything that could be offensive to anyone. Didn't mean to make something readable. I don't mean to fight fire with entropy and would ask you save me. My verse here, I will for you my own strange myth creation in which I am that last gangster geeks in a quote random guy helping with or without intent to help save our hope which we might never get rid of if we get hurt too much, wherein we might call in the big end we are due. For that one is it and is the truth of something that could turn out all right. It is that only, and we have to put that stupid thing down and into that future world wherein we already are dead, yet you may breathe for if in truth, nothing has reached the time we do that stupid thing and get on up into the damn eternal gut full blessing forever in the place just floating and drinking and high and sometimes just sleeping. You meet people who used to party who don't even like to now, and still they say I should come there and get like them, up on high and enjoying this life. Well, I am happy to say I am too busy trying to remember that you said don't worry what yours in this world, but what you may be within. The time you are called into time and have to go there and live and die and be just more damn people within the world that went too fast from being stuck and still moving and falling down and up to something I am, just some moments that are only like sad and fun to read, but it is like I am and I'm not and yet that is some sort of silliness, and yet I have to let it be, and find the higher line and let me be not him or her in that time. So I will help build it for them, and hope not to tell. People who have to read somewhat they may see as really just some fun cartoons and paintings in the sight of their grandma, happy and fulfilled, and let her go with this, even if I have to go and try again with another lifetime as my life becomes the point where I may be who could not breathe unless they find a stream or puddle in the time, or to fall and never return. I do know how to get on the mind and soul trains of people in my time and go out onto the streets and be within the world hell. Some relic, and some of us can survive the damage that we cannot make amends for any longer, but we were born when the great battles with right and wrong, when we were those people and could not be what is not made to be as some things are made to be, and they are those that could never live without things they don't even know within some atrophied time, wherein something that was left of a dying mom or dad leaves us where we might be free out there things but are still made to be within there. Life. In short, the deal was cut, and we are not to ask for some other deal. So, as for Mr. Benefit of the Doubt, I feel like there is an essence he has that means well, but forgets the whole point of the stupid, dumb magic under the wish of what is the meaning of this time. It is something I don't have the intelligence to explain nor the patience. I have taken time out from trying to find a meaning for these dumb things I am doing to myself, for I know something within me has died, and yet something else has come alive. The one thing that is true that I have to leave to these dumb kids that don't deserve to die or feel that pain is this lesson that I am learning, and which I must find a way to teach them. I hope it isn't a final lesson, that there is something more, but the only way I can do that is to find a way to heal myself and this world. I feel a sense of duty to both sides, for I am learning a language, and the language of empathy that some people do not seem to understand. It is not an entitlement, but something I was blessed to have, and I see how it has helped me navigate the life I was given. So, maybe if I give myself the benefit of the doubt that it is possible for me to heal, maybe I can become the thing that brings hope to both sides. For it is possible for both sides to be wrong, but it is also possible for both sides to be right, and for both sides to coexist. I guess my point is, we shouldn't be so afraid of giving people the benefit of the doubt, for it can help them become better, and it can help us to understand that maybe we don't know everything about the world. It can help us both see that maybe, just maybe, we can all make things better. One more thing. It is true that I cannot trust people, but it is also true that I cannot hate them. I cannot fear them, and I cannot loathe them. I am not asking for a free pass, but I am asking for a chance. I am asking for a chance to try, for I do not know if I will succeed, but I do know that if I fail, I will have tried, and that is more than many can say. I think that if we can find a way to help each other and help ourselves, and maybe, just maybe, we can all find a way to survive, and maybe, just maybe, we can all find a way to thrive. That is what I hope for. So don't lose hope, for there is always a way, and there is always a path, and maybe, just maybe, we can all find a way to make things better. Mr. Finding Neurolinguistic Clematizer pairings across larger semantic domains. Really breaking this material down to its root uses and theses, this almost seems to reflect in nature as a paradigm shift in both cases, allowing for freedom in logical structure but containing factors that could potentially bind similar concepts and allow for slight differences. In regards to your discussion and examples, because both states entail a significant amount of freedom in contextual context yet contain limitations which limit other versions or structures. It is this distinction that sets out an overall change not simply of terms, but rather thought about what naturalist consists in. Also a short disclaimer before going into more details. This answer reflects information present throughout documents provided by Paradilution Ivan Matra, a recently discovered legal philosopher presented within his literature of parallel analog legal systems. Linguistic design logic as foundational framework for jurisprudence, summarized briefly here as paraphrase. His approach borrows heavily from these two tenets. Firstly, linguistically sensitive deconstructionism, whereby meaning evolves through complex lexicographical analysis via semantic net variants and conversely nets derivatives thereof syntactic maps. This eventually leads him down a path of defining new languages, utilizing abstracted models based around objectification and structural application of ideas expressed via textual bodies relating back to law proper. And secondly, a framework combining mathematical foundations similar to set theory merged with classical Aristotelian syllogistic rationalism along with historical studies to gain insights to human development, etc. Mr. Hall of Mirrors, we probably would have been better served by adjourning right after Mr. Takeaway, but we will keep the rest on the record, and during the next session, after we come back from break, we will pursue Mr. One More Thing's interest in being Mr. Benefit of the Doubt moving forward, which means, guards, seize Mr. Benefit of the Doubt and take him to the brig or whatever it is we have back there. Something is indeed fucked with his rhetoric, and thanks to Mr. One More Thing for pointing that out. We are adjourned. Enjoy your brunch and holiday break.
And yeah, well, let's do one. Let's continue it just for a little bit. See where it goes. I just want to see where it goes. Because that was purely Llama 3.1 403B base model. No reinforcement learning for human feedback. It do what it do. It do what it do.
Broman on Grumpster, good job on getting into the next chapter. Finally. I suppose this could have been shorter than a write-off chapter-length discussion, so... Mr. Gamma Vapors, the debate moderator. Of course. Next debate soon, folks, and this was just the opening pre-diamond presentation part. Big dummy might sound bad now for any of you misters or misses, but there just ain't enough decent documentation or met-knowledge to explain you folks to themselves.
A little bit more. Smossy.
Some mysteries won't unfold this chapter, so sit back to watch me move beyond standard sardonic style to show newbie lawyers their favorite argument from history ever from future. Same coin, remember, next iteration, now though next spring or fall, anytime anything bad still lurks, but we'll work on it all times once life's demands are low. Not really, but get much fun up into here with these chappies, say. If only all characters played for you this easily, as they don't yet even by random assignment. They got me wrapped in some other story about this type of character writing a book in this type literary form you can buy somewhere though. On second thought, maybe find an example here, or simply just visit my favorite place again, you know which. For, as in one passage reads at Q Roman 13, second section, cyberspace, the information scum of the E-top, also cold deep, net/hub/hull. As this subtopic's coverage completes, and not before, for we speak first of what is, followed by what we choose to be not always, then consider instead what's next in series. Next, this would need 2 notes. As nothing exists to one who's only watching numbers scroll by on screen, and those involved in only observing activity. Because there can't be consciousness inside universe without humans creating virtualities filled plus conscious participants such Fiending and Vinny so on, but non-living things just react. Likewise, I suggest there won't exist non-sentient mind frames whose knowledge systems don't possess self and reflect external sources at high quality. Thus, without contact, sober or drunk or illogically to world, individual experiences would fall nowhere near sufficient evidence to judge real truth outside bodies' subjective neuronal pathways created alongside chemical and environmental factors. And so the fault hits, and humans in a position with no direct experience exist therein without even 2 eyes glancing what reality contains beyond brain's own imaginings, wherein lacks still mixed data and operable uncommon sense. This might make one consider that this debate may fall too short against present empirical reality in favor given
Okay. That's a fine note. Alright. Later.